Is literally anything real or organic about the Kamala Harris campaign? I'm Vince with RTM News. If you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new. But Kamala Harris has once again been caught bussing in supporters from out of town to attend her rallies, and then once again touting a large crowd size. Now, this is not the first time this has happened. Last month, when she did a rally in Savannah, Georgia, we found out a very similar thing, which was that they were bussing in people from Atlanta, which is 3 to 4 hours away, depending on traffic, to attend these rallies. And then they said, oh, look at how many people in Savannah showed up. Check it out.
It's been since 1992 since a presidential candidate came to Savannah, which was Bill Clinton in the hostess city. Now, at the End Market Arena itself, lines stretched around the venue, as I was just telling you, and people started getting here as early this morning for the vice president. But for those a little further away from the hostess city, shuttles to the rally contained a lot of excitement.
I was in Atlanta and I heard that the vice president was going to be in Savannah, so I decided to just kind of beeline over here and check it out.
Now, this past week, she held a rally in the state of New Hampshire, which in itself is not exactly a show of confidence. We are told by the polls that Kamala Harris is the favorite in the election, and yet here she was campaigning in Virginia, New Hampshire, and Minnesota, all states that in any reasonable scenario besides a total Trump landslide, you would expect you should solidly win. So that's bad enough in itself, already an admission of weakness. But take a listen. It seems like once again, Kamala Harris has been caught bussing in supporters from out of town. Even in a state that she is allegedly supposed to win, she once again gets caught doing this bussing practice.
Well, behind me, hundreds of invited Harris supporters are leaving and boarding shuttle buses. This was a departure for Kamala Harris, leaving toss-up states to come to New Hampshire.
So this seems to be a recurring theme at all of Kamala Harris's rallies, which is either they need to have a celebrity-free concert in order to get people to pack an arena, or in many cases like this, they are literally bussing in people and quote-unquote invited Kamala Harris supporters to show up to these events. Now, it is unclear whether or not they're just giving out buses to the supporters, or if these people are literally like paid campaign employees that are just showing up or doing whatever. Regardless, it doesn't really matter. There's nothing necessarily illegal about this, but there is something certainly very misleading, which is, again, is anything real about Kamala Harris's campaign? Because if you're going to go so far as even essentially fake your crowd sizes and fake your volunteer lists, you truly have to ask the question, is there anything about this presidential campaign that is not AstroTurf? They claim there is so much widespread popular support for their ticket, and yet they have to bus in supporters to fill up these buildings, and even members of their own family don't support them, but we're supposed to believe there's all this widespread support.
Tim Walz wants free college education, legal driver's licenses.
I was so honored today.
And she wants a path to citizenship.
His brother endorsed me.
I saw that.
And his whole family. I saw the picture. And honestly, it was a very nice looking family. But his brother endorsed me, and the whole family endorsed me. I said, who are all the people?
Let me play Kamala.
There's something weird with that guy. He's a weird guy.
So let's keep a running tally here. First of all, you had a fake nomination process. Then you have fake crowd sizes. You even have fake life stories, especially in the case of Tim Walz. And now, just today, CNN, of all networks, actually caught the Kamala Harris campaign using images of Trump's border wall, right? The border wall that he built in order to insinuate that Kamala Harris was going to be tough on the border. And folks, this segment is just brutal. Take a listen.
Tonight, K-File investigates. In a new report, you'll see first out front. The K-File team scoured Kamala Harris's tweets and statements going all the way back to 2017. And what they found was more than 50 instances of Harris slamming Trump's border wall. But now, new Harris campaign ads actually showcase that very wall.
As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border.
Oh, see that wall? See that wall?
And on top of critical tweets, Harris also wrote in her 2019 book, quote, there was a bigger reason to oppose the border wall. A useless wall on the southern border would be nothing more than a symbol, a monument standing in opposition to not just everything I value, but to the fundamental values upon which this country was built. How could I vote to build what would be little more than a monument designed to send the cold, hard message, keep out?
Oh, really, Kamala? That's very interesting, isn't it?
It's scoured an incredible amount of material. Tell me more about what you found.
Yeah, that's right. We found more than 50 of those tweets criticizing the border wall before she used that in her ad. And I want people to take a look at just a few of what she said here. She called it wasteful, useless, a waste of taxpayer money, a vanity wall project, a wasteful border wall, a stupid wall, a medieval vanity project, and an unnecessary wall. And those are really just, I mean, there were more, there's just like 10 or like 50. But there was really a lot of this was the common refrain during the campaign. You read that quote where she said it was against everything that not only she stood for, everything America stood for, but and she brought this up a lot. Take a listen to just one instance of that in 2019.
Oh, boy.
It's the president's vanity project.
The vanity project that you are now showing in your own campaign ads. Very funny. Yeah, so I think the ultimate conclusion that we can reach here, folks, is that nothing is real about the Kamala Harris campaign. Her support seems to be heavily astroturfed. Her policies are either copied or borrowed or disingenuous or whatever it is, and even the life stories are not real. The whole thing is essentially one giant social experiment of how much can we gaslight the American populace into voting for us.
It's coming. Well, first of all, it is what many of us have known all along, and I'm glad he had the courage to come forward and speak the truth, especially right now. And this is really important, Trace, because you have Kamala Harris, who's building her whole campaign around freedom. This is her new mantra that she's repeating. She repeated it in her debate, in her speech at the Democratic convention, that she's going to be a president who champions freedom. But the fact is, as Mark Zuckerberg just exposed, it is Harris and Joe Biden who got him and Facebook to do their dirty work in censoring our right to free speech. Once again, her words do not match her actions. So we got to turn down the volume on whatever it is she's saying and just look at her record, because that tells us the whole story about why we should not allow her in the White House as our president.
Ultimately, the fundamental issue with Kamala Harris's campaign is going to be time, right? Because obviously there's a reason they switched her out so late, because the shorter timeline we have, the less time that, you know, media, everyone in general has to expose her past record, because there are so many different holes to poke in her campaign, what she's saying versus what she did, etc., etc. But as you saw in the first month of her so-called honeymoon phase, she doesn't want to talk about this. She doesn't want to have to address this, and she's hoping she can just get by until November and hope that she never has to answer these questions. But again, if you're starting to even see CNN and entities like that calling out the what the heck is this? I mean, this is just so unbelievably lazy and dishonest, then you may have a presidential campaign that is in trouble. Maybe that's why the crowd sizes are decreasing, and why in the month of August and September, it looks like now the crowd sizes have to be bussed in from out of town. That said, let me know your thoughts, and until next time, I've been Vince with RTM News. Peace.